All right, legends, we're back on the wagon. We've got plenty to talk about in this one, looking at the next 3 games and then a little sight on round 13, 14. Obviously, those 2 big first major bye. Really important rounds. Round 13, we got just the 13 on the park. Then round 14, you've got Origin players backing up. You've obviously got 3 teams on the bye as well. So plenty happening on that front there. But firstly, let's kick it off with that first 3 rounds, and that's going into the Tigers setup. And they got the Dragons, Panthers, Broncos over the next 3. So a solid matchup in this one, but really, looking at any outside backs from the Tigers, I would avoid that right now. Really just focus on Galvin after his end of his suspension after round 6. I still think he's going to do really well from there. So if you don't own him yet, round 7, obviously Panthers is going to be the play. He has a very low break even, so that's going to be the play on that one. A few people have asked me about Appy and my thoughts on him. And you look at this little run here. If he gets his goal kicking back, then I think that's great. Obviously, you'd hold him steadily there up against the Dragons this week. Watch it for this week and see what happens. And if things are going poorly, he's not fit, then maybe you can look to jump off. But I'm seeing a lot of people looking at trading him out this week. And look, if it was Appy to get like a Hines, then I understand that. But outside of that, it's him and Galvin, the 2 guys to only look at for the Tigers. At this point, for the Titans, it's the Raiders, Eagles into the Warriors and Storm for that next 4. So a fairly tough little group of matchups here. If you're looking at Titans, it's only going to be Jaden Campbell and it's going to be Dave Fafita over this period. Outside of that, it's really hard to select anyone. You've got, Clark playing off the bench. Their edges, I don't think you can pick both for more yet or anything like that. So that's where you're looking at with the Titans, just those couple of guys there in that one, because they've got a buy in round 13 as well. So for me, guys, if you're looking to purchase players over this period, look ahead to that round 13 or 14, see what's happening there. You want them to make a good amount of money, and as an added benefit, if they're playing that first buy round or round 14 or something like that, or both would be great, then and they're a mid-range type of player, you can hold them through that and then sell them there. That's like a double tick. So first tick, they get you some decent points, some decent money making. And the second tick is if they're playing one of those buys and they're a guy you can see yourself holding for that long. That's the theory there. Dolphins come up next, guys. They do play round 13, which is really cool. So they got through that first one, and they have a fairly solid buy period. They only miss one of those major ones. They miss round 18, which is the only team that has a buy in that one. So looking at Dolphins, guys, I do think that surprisingly Aiken's probably still going to have a little bit more value if he's fine. And it was just cramps on the weekend. It doesn't seem like Lemuelu's coming back anytime in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Could be a situation similar to that with Dylan Lucas as well. With Frizzell, there's a little bit of talk that maybe it is now moderate grade hamstring. So that's gives it a few more weeks to Lucas in that sense as well. But Dolphins, you've got Broncos this week into the Eels and the Knights. Cowboys following that. So they've had their easier part of the draw now. It does become a little bit more difficult now. Not crazy. Obviously, they don't have the Panthers in there at all. But they're playing well, and I think they can hold their own against these type of teams. But a little bit of an issue with Farnworth being out, and then with Flegler potentially missing this week as well. If Walshy's back, which it looks like he probably will be, we might see Willison back as well. I'm not sure if we see like Baker getting dropped off, but Willison and Takura is a very scary bench for the Broncos. So that could be a fairly tough one, but we know that the Dolphins get up for that Brisbane matchup, that's for sure. Storm, when we're looking at them, Bulldogs, Roosters, Bunnies, Titans over the next 4. A bye in round 13, yes, but then they play 14, 16, 17, have another bye in 19. Storm are a really, really cracking team to start targeting right now. People are looking at Jerome Hughes. He's playing some of the best footy of his career this year after having a couple of leaner years. A few years ago, he was absolutely crushing it and was a superstar. So I can understand people looking at him. I would stay away from Cam Munster right now, if we're being honest. He's a player that it sounds like he's going to be at 70 to 80% all year. So not great. Pap, I do think he's going to go on a really good run right now. You've got Eli Katoa as someone to look at. You've got Sean Bloor as someone to look at as well. So Storm players, very, very good purchases this week. But obviously have a little look at how many players you've got on a round 13 bye and make your decisions from there. For the Sharkies, they have the Bunnies, Cows, Raiders, Dragons over the next 4. So, and then they don't have another bye until round 16, which is really cool. So they have a terrific run, obviously for the bye period, but the quality of opposition, the ability to let in points. Obviously, we know what Rabbitohs are doing at the moment. Cowboys are letting in points. They've got the Dragons in there as well. And Raiders will be a fun matchup too. So I definitely think that Sharks players are definitely some to look at. Have a little look at Cam McInnes as well. Obviously, we've got Nico Hines as a clear buy-in. And then you've got guys like Britton Nikora, who could also be, players of note to have a little look at. Outside of that, that's probably it from the Sharkies. All solid purchases. Panthers have the bye this week, and then they have a nice run as well. They don't have their next one until round 16. They come back with the Tigers, the Cowboys, the Bunnies, the Bulldogs. So a really nice run there, and that's where someone like Taylor May could just be a hold. Like, he's lost enough cash now that he's getting into a territory where other people might be starting to buy. And as much as that's frustrating for myself and anyone else that owns him, that's how you do need to analyze players like this, is that when they've gone down, you're looking at what they're priced at right now, and can they hit that target or can they better that target? And we definitely know he can. He just hasn't got a try yet. Nothing's happened. So surely at some stage of the year, he can start piling on a few tries and go on a bit of a run. Because what we do see with these centers, for the most part, is they go on little 4-game stretches where they average 60, and then they can average a 30 for the rest of it, and that's where they end up at a 40 odd. So, well, hopefully that's the case. But obviously, look at Cleary. That run is going to be awesome in round 7. Rabbitohs, they've got the Sharkies into a bye. I don't think you can look at targeting any Rabbitohs. Even Jai Gray this week, to buy him, to then them have a bye in round 7, and then come back with Storm and Panthers. It's a pretty tough little introduction, and I could see why people would do it. They need a cash cow. They want a cheap player. But I would err on the side of caution to buying any Rabbitohs at this stage. If you're looking at like Jacob Host, I think last week was the play, under 400k, and now you're buying people before they have a buy in round 7. Cam Murray likely to be, I think we should hold this week and potentially look in round 7. He could be a ticket to get to Hines or Cleary. That could be the play. Especially with his minutes and his knee as well. For the Doggies, guys, you got Storm and the Knights before their bye in round 8. So I'd be aware of that bye in round 8 and maybe look to hold a few of them. You should see a bump from Salmon, from Hughesy, from Josh Curran. These types of players, it's going to be very helpful for them given the amount of injuries that they have in this side with Kurt Mann going down. Obviously, they're very tough for them in the middle to go along with the other middles they've got, lost in Preston and the like, and being an edge, obviously. But they're struggling for that. So minutes will be there for Hughesy, should be there for Salmon, and we'll see how it all goes. But I wouldn't be purchasing any more dogs unless you don't have many. Then Curran could be a good purchase, but outside of that, they're just holds, and I want to hold a few of them because they play 13 and 14 as well. 16 on top of that. So a few of these guys, if they get a good position for a while, could be a hold for a little bit as well. But reassess come round 8, I think, for them. Eels, they have the bye in round 9. So I suggest for them, they're kind of a team now after last week. They're very, very worrisome. I think they can definitely put on some points against the Cowboys. They'll probably lose that matchup as well. Should be all right against the Dolphins as well. But it gets a little bit tougher after their bye in round 9. So don't go out and overload now that we've got the information from last week. Hopefully it's a flash in the pan and they can be a decent side, but they do have a few things to work out. That's for sure. So I'd avoid all Eels right now. Hold them for those that you've got, but avoid buying. From the Raiders side, they have a bye in round 10. So 4 games now until their first one, and then they've got a round 14 one as well. So they could be a team where you hold probably 3, I think is pretty good coming into that bye, but we do have some time to potentially offload them. Titans this week, we're still waiting to hear on Jordy Rapana. It's a meniscus issue, and I kind of hope that he plays, but if he does, he could still be hampered by that, and physio says that there's a good chance that it could re-aggravate during the game, and because he's been dealing with it over time, apparently. And if he re-aggravates it during the game, he could get a low score for you again, like he did for me this week. So just be aware of that. But obviously, the Broncos the following week could be a tough one for him. But yeah, you're holding guys like, guys like Fogarty, Smithies, obviously, there. If you held Hosking, I think this is a good week to keep hold of him. And the like there. So just holding Levi, holding Strange. You got a few of them for now, just to keep going. And then the Dragons, they have their next bye in round 11, but then don't have one till 16 as well. So that's pretty helpful for them. It's pretty much Lomax is the only guy you want to have, I suppose, from the Dragons at this point. Ben Hunt's been great as well. You wouldn't go out and buy him. Lomax is probably the only one that you could target. They have Tigers, Warriors, Roosters, Sharks, and then Rabbitohs. So not overly easy for any standpoint, but we know that he can, as long as they're scoring a few points, Lomax, he'll do well in that one. For the Knights, this is where the easier matchups start to come for them. Roosters, the Doggies, the Dolphins in the next 3. So that's pretty good. Roosters kind of struggling a little bit the last couple of weeks, and they need to turn that around. Can the Knights continue to do good things at home to then have the Dogs and the Dolphins the next couple of weeks? Tigers and Titans before their bye in 12. So Ponga, a terrific purchase this week and, following weeks, along with, potentially Jaden Brayley to look at in the next few. Not now, but soon. Broncos get into slightly easier run as well. They've had a really tough set of matches and, Dolphins, Raiders, Tigers, Roosters, Eels. Gets a little bit nicer for them. So with Walshy coming back, look at him either this week coming or the following week. He was playing incredibly well. And he's someone with a bit of a price drop last week, and then obviously this week coming, he could be right for the picking. Following that, Payne Haas returning. I don't think, unless you're a head-to-head player, that you can go for him. And obviously Brendan Piakura coming back eventually. Apparently he wasn't at training yesterday, so that's frustrating. It looks like he's still no closer to returning, which is not good. So that's something to note with Piakura. Seagulls, Warriors, Titans, Eels, solid for them. Nothing crazy over their next 3. Obviously, the Titans matchup is pretty juicy for guys like Turbo. We know that he'll be out for Origin as well, though. So, do you want to grab a DCE after his breakout game? You could do. What's going to happen with that center position with Garrick being out for a week? I just don't think outside of Turbo or DCE, you can go for any of these Eagles right now. Holding Burbo, it looks like. And then the Wars, we've got the Eagles, Dragons, and Titans for them, which is pretty solid. Again, you're happy with that. Coming into the Knights, Roosters following that. So a nice run for the Warriors players. People asking, why aren't we talking about Jackson Ford? Recently. He just keeps doing it. He'd been getting sort of mid to high 40s, so it wasn't a massive thing to talk about. Averaging close to 50. Well, he was 50, I think, before this week, and then exploded with a try and went great. So he's definitely one that you can hold. If you buy now, you're holding for the entirety of the year, most likely as a keeper. Misses round 20, is that right? Round 19 for the Wars, and then that round 13 Y as well. So that's that. Yeah, he's a solid one. SJ is great as well. There's a bunch of players that you could look at. Tohu Harris, obviously, there as well. And then the Roosters, they have the Knights, the Storm, the Dragons coming up. A few, worrying signs for them with the, how they're playing and a couple of injuries and the like. So Joey Manu is obviously a clear player that people will be looking at this week, and I wouldn't push away from him at all. He's had a great season. He had that one low game in round 2, but outside of that, he's been spectacular, and we know what he produces at fullback. Crichton is going to be a clear purchase this week. If Satili's actually dropped, Crichton looked great. Some of the best footy he's played in years, so I think he's very close to a must-have. One of the great buys of the week if things work out in team lists. We expect Nat Butcher to be back. Him and his partner had their first child, I believe. So, happy days for them. And he'll be back, most likely. And to finish it off, guys, you got Cowboys. They've got the Eels, the Sharkies, and the Panthers the next 3. And then it goes Dolphins, Titans, Rabbitohs, Tigers. So, really, you just got to have to get through the Panthers one. The Sharks one will, and Eels will be fairly close, higher scoring matchups, you'd imagine. Panthers at home is a little bit helpful, but that will be full strength for them if Cleary comes back well. So really it's just the one matchup. Other than that, the Cowboys have a really nice run, especially their non-Origin guys. So if you're looking at Drinkwater and he doesn't play Origin, he has his first bye in round 16, which is great. Robson's been awesome. He's a good chance of playing Origin, I think, the way that he's playing right now. He's been awesome. He's been great, as I said. Outside of that, Kulakefu, you're holding him. That's it. Labart will be out. Tom Chester is potentially an option at center, but I personally wouldn't at that price. But yeah, that's up to you. So that's that video, guys. I hope that really helped you guys out with looking at the next few weeks, but obviously one eye on round 13 and round 14 as well. And yeah, we'll get into the team lists this afternoon. I'll be able to do them, get them done on time. I've got no training this afternoon, so excited to get them out to you, and we look onwards and upwards to a cracking week here in round 6. I look forward to a better one in fantasy, and hopefully continue my momentum that I built last week in Supercoach. Thanks, guys. We'll see you then.